page. Here we will provide you with the sports betting tips, picks, and information in order for you to become a successful gambler. We have 5 packages that I think really do an incredible job of providing the information tailored to you, what you want, and what your sports betting needs are. For more information, reach out to the TWSN team, but we have a ton of stuff coming your way. Content from fantasy football, sports betting for UFC, NBA, NHL, and of course, the NFL. We are so excited to be able to bring this service to you, and let us know if there's any more information you need.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't heard about us yet, well you better know now because it's the place that it all goes down on.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the TWSN show. Kody is back with us this week, and we have an absolutely jam-packed show for you this week. But as always, before we get into things, your weekly reminder, subscribe to the YouTube, follow along on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to the Patreon. The betting team does a great job. They make you a lot of money. It's worth your time. Trust me. But like I said, we have an absolutely jam-packed show today. So let's just get right into it. Today, college basketball is starting. It's always a pretty hectic time of the year. But what are you looking forward to? What do you got to say about college basketball starting today, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. We got fans back in the stands here. It's going to be fun. College basketball's the environment of a college basketball game is something unlike any other. I've only been to a couple, but they've been electric. They've been, just fun to feed off of. Even if it's not your team, it's fun to go. And we have some really good teams this season. We got UCLA, we got Gonzaga, who's loaded. We have Duke with Mike Krzyzewski's last run here.
Yeah,
and I mean, maybe he goes off on a farewell run here. I mean, personally, that would be kind of cool to see. But yeah, it's going to be a good basketball season for college, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yep,
Kody,
we got Duke and Kentucky actually going tonight. So 9 seed.
Yeah.
10 seed. So obviously, college basketball is so exciting for one reason only. You can't count out any team, no matter the rank, no matter how small or big they are, no matter how good or bad they are. Any given night, there's so many upsets throughout the year, and that's what I love most about it. But just getting in the swing of things and really enjoying the fans, like you said, it is crazy, especially even to watch on TV. It can get really, really fun to watch, a lot more fun than some other sports because you can actually see the fans there too. So yeah, real excited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can talk about college. I mean, I know it's literally the first games are just tipping off today, but it's hard to talk about college basketball and not bring up March Madness, man. I mean, March Madness is a time literally everybody loves, everybody gets into, and it's absolutely an awesome time. And I'll never forgive the world for robbing us of the Dayton Flyers #1 overall seed a few years ago.
Yep.
And as like Kody said, man, it's completely random. It's awesome. Like, you think going into that year, anybody thought Dayton was going to be good at all, much less a #1 overall seed? That's just the beauty of college basketball, man. Like, any given day, anything can happen, and that's why it's awesome. They go out there, they compete the whole time. It's just fun. It's a fun atmosphere to get behind. It's a fun atmosphere to watch. And I'm excited to see how the year goes this year. We got some different teams up at the top this year. Gonzaga's been, a little bit of a normal team of late. UCLA's up there, and we got Kansas, Michigan State on right now. So it's going to be an exciting college basketball year, hopefully, and hopefully all goes well and we can enjoy the madness this time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the return of the Blue Bloods, kind of.
Absolutely.
In a way, you got Duke, who's a top team. You have Kansas, who's a top team. I mean, Gonzaga's been, they're not Blue Blood per se, but they've been one of the better teams in college basketball over the last however many years. UCLA is good again. A lot of people think this team could make a run here. I mean, I'm not as sold on this UCLA team as other people are. I think they just had a magical run last year. We'll see if they can continue it. I mean, because a lot of people forget with this UCLA team, they were in that last four in, for last year. And they had to play that play-in game against Michigan State to get in. And Michigan State imploded at the end of the game. Otherwise, UCLA might have never had that magical run. They have a great team, don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying they're not going to do anything, but I think this UCLA team is getting a little too much hype. I think Oregon is actually the team in the Pac-12 to look out for. I really like this Oregon Ducks team. They're always competitive, and Dana Altman has that team running and gunning every single year. But yeah, it's going to be a great college basketball season. I can't wait to see how everything just shakes out.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time. But like I said, we just wanted to touch on college basketball opening night tonight. Nothing crazy. We'll get into it more as the season develops and things get a little more serious. But we can kind of transition into our other college sport that we're gonna have a lot to say. Last week we saw the first college football playoff rankings unveiled. We broke them down for you guys last week, and we had another interesting week of college football again this week. We haven't seen the rankings yet for this week. They were delayed a little bit due to college basketball. But last week the standings went as Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, Oregon as the 4 teams in the playoffs. And then just on the outside, you had Ohio State, Cincinnati, Michigan, Oklahoma, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame rounding out your top 10. And 2 teams in the top 10 lost this week. Michigan State went down to Purdue. That's Purdue's second pretty good win, by the way. And then Wake Forest finally lost to North Carolina. So we got, a lot of close games. There should be some shakeup this week. Nobody kind of, I have no clue what to expect, who they're gonna rank where. Should be an interesting thing. But what were your takeaways from this week, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird weekend for football in general, but college football also. Like, honestly, none of the top teams really impressed, other than maybe Georgia. Georgia might be the only team that really actually showed me anything, because Alabama struggled with a really bad LSU team at home.
Yeah.
Michigan State lost. Oregon, yeah, they beat Washington, but it wasn't a pretty win. Ohio State struggled with Nebraska. Cincinnati struggled again. They won, but they still struggled. Yeah. So, for the committee, there's not going to be much shakeup, because I still think Georgia, Alabama, Oregon are going to be in it because they held on and won. But I feel like you have to probably put Ohio State in. Just move everyone up 1 right now. Maybe move Michigan State down to 5 or 6. I mean, I have a feeling that Michigan State's going to be ranked ahead of Cincinnati, personally.
Yeah.
Cincinnati did not do themselves any favors on Saturday. They did none, because they had a chance to show the committee, you have College Game Day there, and they struggled again. And yes, they won, but it's like, you need style points for this Cincinnati team. And it sucks, because I wish they would at least get a chance, but the committee's probably going to put them at 6 again, or maybe even lower. It just depends.
Yeah.
Kody.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, when I look at the playoff picture and how everything first came out and everybody was surprised, I think really what this just proves is this is probably the most, or like the worst of the top 6 teams that we've had in the past couple of years. We don't have, I mean, Georgia's been that dominant team this year, but like usually the, Alabama or LSU in the past, I mean, there was always a team or 2 behind the 1 seed who was also just like super dominant, waiting to take over the 1. And but I feel like you just don't have that this year, when you have all the teams behind the 1 seed playing and barely beating teams they should be destroying. That's just kind of not what you usually see when it comes to this time of the year. So like you said, I do think they end up moving Ohio State in because they kind of have to. But Cincinnati, like also you brought up, they have to have style points. They can't keep barely beating teams. They can't keep not proving that they can destroy teams, because if you're going to be close to a Tulsa and you can't just say like, oh, well, they're going to have a chance against Alabama, which I do think they would, but it's just, I think they got a lot of pressure on them right now. And it's just, they're too worried, especially with game day there, probably added a lot more pressure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they needed to come out and make a statement, and they didn't. I mean, it's obviously going to have an effect on them, but just for the whole college football rankings and kind of how we talked about how it's a little mysterious this year, and there's a couple points that like I think used to apply in other years that don't really apply now. Like, you guys keep talking about style points, and like I feel like it's an assumption that they matter, but it seems like it only matters for the teams trying to get in. Like a team like Cincinnati, like they need to win by 50, but they don't care if Alabama wins by 7. They don't care if Ohio State wins by 3. Like, and that's what's frustrating to me. Like, not even just because it's a UC thing, and we're obviously big in Cincinnati, but like, it's just, I just hate that, like, it's so different for so many other teams and other schools. Like that's the thing that bothers me. It's just like style points need to matter for everybody or matter for nobody. It's as simple as that. Like everybody needs to be like on the same field. And I understand Cincinnati is going to have more style points than in Alabama, and that's fair. That's common sense. But like, other teams are struggling just as much as Cincinnati is, and it's like, if they're going to be punished for it, other teams need to be punished for it too as well. So I feel like Matt said, I think Cincinnati will be 5th, I think, this week. I think Michigan State is probably 6.
It just depends because
I don't think Michigan can jump them. So I don't think you can have Michigan higher than them.
no, I
So,
think out of all the teams other than the ones that lost, Michigan had the worst week. I mean, yes, they won, but Michigan State lost, and they lost to Michigan State. So that makes that loss look really bad.
yeah.
But Oklahoma is the one team that was in the top 10 that's sitting pretty here, other than Georgia, because
But Oklahoma didn't even play this week.
no,
right?
they didn't even play. But all these other teams
Yeah.
were basically just playing in these close games, or they lost. Like Wake Forest lost, so that they're out. I mean, Notre Dame had a tough game, I believe.
They won still, but yeah.
No, they blew out Navy. They blew out Navy. So actually, for Cincinnati, that's good. That Notre Dame's still winning. But I don't know. The committee, like we talked about this last week, the committee's probably not putting Cincinnati in unless like craziness happens over the next few weeks where every team loses basically other than Georgia. Cincinnati's not making it in, and even if they go undefeated.
That reminded me of something I kind of like I was just talking about how the committee feels a little different this year. It was actually, I saw a couple of tweets about it. And it came from a quote from Joe Burrow this week on Colin Cowherd's show. And he was talking about how his mindset going into the bye week. He's like, talking about how they've lost some games, but they're not out of it. And he said, it's not like college football where you lose a game and your season's over. Like, that's not the case this year. Like, I don't think they really care about losses really this year at all. Whether that's to keep a team like UC out of it, whatever the reason is, they clearly don't value losses much this year as to years in the past. And I mean, that's a pretty interesting, like I said, I don't know why it just feels like the ranking system is a little different this year. Like, I don't think anybody has a true read on it. Yeah, I know we got an interesting group of teams up here, but I don't know why it just feels so different this year.
I feel like
go ahead, Kody.
Sorry about that. Honestly, I when I'm thinking about this and the rankings that are going to come out tonight, I could honestly see them keeping Michigan State in the mix as well in the top 4. I mean, I think how they're going to look at it is think Michigan State and Ohio State are going to be playing still this year. So why would we move Michigan State past them, keep Michigan State at 4, move Oregon up, keep Ohio State at 5, and everything else the same? Nothing else was really that impressive. And then they're just going to give Michigan State a chance to be like, hey, if you beat Ohio State, you're in. There you go. You did it. But
it's going to be it's going to end up playing itself out.
Yeah.
Which is why I was so frustrated that Cincinnati wasn't in it last week, because it's just like if they weren't in it then, when were they ever going to get in it? But like you said, Michigan State is going to play people. Ohio State and Michigan will play.
Yeah.
Georgia and Alabama will play. Oregon, I don't know who their toughest
Oregon doesn't
game
play.
is.
Oregon doesn't play anyone ranked here.
So Oregon
just has to win out and win the Pac-12.
But
and
dude,
probably in.
Speaking of Oregon has the worst loss, literally, than anybody in probably the top 15.
But do they have the best win?
But yeah, I think they have the best win of the college football season in beating Ohio State in Columbus.
Yeah, but while that is true, but how? I
think
feel
they're kind of counteracting each other at this point in the committee's eyes.
Yeah, but that's fair, I guess. But I mean, dude, Oregon lost to a Stanford team who lost by 50 points to somebody this weekend. Come on. I don't know. I get it a little bit, but Oregon's in a tough situation. I don't think Oregon stands a chance. If Oregon played anybody inside the top 10, I would be picking whoever's playing Oregon, I think.
Yeah, I would too, especially with all the injuries that Oregon suffered over the last few weeks too.
And and like you said, the committee said last week that they do value and pay attention to injuries. And if that's the case, maybe they cut UC some slack because their starting running back got hurt, missed most of the game. While he was in the game, they got up early and they got hurt and they kind of struggled. Maybe they don't care. Like you said, Oregon's had some injuries. Maybe, I don't know. I can see how Oregon's going to end up getting in, but like I said, I think Oregon probably loses to any other top 10 team pretty comfortably. I don't see it with them. I don't think Michigan State's very good either. I think Michigan State will lose again.
Yeah, I think Ohio State's going to beat Michigan State.
Yeah.
I think Michigan State, while they are a good team, they're not a great team. And Oregon plays Utah still in Utah, and that's not going to be an
that'll be
easy
their
game
toughest one
at all. And if they lose, honestly, Oregon can't lose. They're the one team in this realm here, other than Cincinnati, but like they're the one main Power 5 team that if they physically cannot lose one game. They lose one game, there's no chance of them getting in whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
I think
team that I'm looking at here. Sorry,
you're good.
Texas A&M. I don't necessarily think this is going to happen, but Texas A&M has the tiebreaker over Alabama. So if Texas A&M wins out and Alabama loses one of their next 2 games, Texas A&M actually is going to play Georgia in the SEC title game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't think that will happen, but you got to watch out for this Texas A&M team because I mean they just went and beat Auburn last week. They have a tough game. I believe they're going to Oxford and Mississippi against Ole Miss this weekend.
I believe so.
They win that game. Who knows? Because I mean Alabama has to go to Auburn, and we've seen Auburn plays a lot better at home than they do on the road. Yeah. So we're in for some craziness over this next couple of weeks. And like we talked about, things are going to play themselves out. Teams might end up just beating up on each other. Maybe Cincinnati keeps winning and the committee has no choice but to kind of force them in at number 4 and put them up against Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know it was last year, different teams, but I mean, you see Hug with Georgia last year. I know Georgia's a different thing. You see, I mean, I don't know if like you guys really remember that game, but UC had to lead the whole time until their left tackle got ejected.
Yep.
And then Azeez Ojulari just went to town on their backup tackle, and the game was just completely different. Not that that's going to be the same case.
I think Georgia beat Cincinnati by 30.
I mean,
if they play.
I
don't think that game would be particularly close. And I think
Georgia beats everybody by 30, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a supporter of Cincinnati all year, but there's no team in this that I believe can actually take on Georgia and beat them other than Alabama.
I still don't think Alabama wins, but because Alabama hasn't been very promising either. I mean, they lost to Texas A&M. They struggled against LSU. They sucked against Tennessee for a half.
I just don't count out Saban ever.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying, like,
I've learned my lesson
outside of them being Alabama, like they haven't been too impressive this year.
No,
really.
They haven't. That's true. I mean, I honestly, if LSU had a slightly better quarterback,
100%.
LSU probably beats them.
100%.
That's the thing in Tuscaloosa. I mean, and then we're having a whole other conversation because Alabama's probably out at that point.
Yeah,
but they didn't. Alabama survived, and they're probably going to stay at number 2 when these rankings come out in about an hour or so.
I think if I had to bet today, I think it's going to end up being Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Oregon. I think because like Kody kind of talked about, people are going to have to play each other, and if Ohio State beats Michigan State, that just makes the Oregon win against Ohio State better. And Oregon really shouldn't lose the rest of the year. So that way, I think you get Georgia's going to wipe the floor with Oregon, beat them probably by 50 points. And then you'll have a fun Ohio State-Alabama game. I think that's probably the 4 that it'll end up with.
Mm-hmm.
I
can't really see another outcome, if I'm being honest.
It's Michigan State beating Ohio State. That's the hope, basically, for Michigan State to even have a chance, because they still have to play Penn State, too.
Okay, yeah, that's true, too. But then, so what's the scenario if Michigan State beats Ohio State? How does that change Oregon's outlook, considering their best win just got worse and their bad loss is already horrible?
I think, basically, Oregon is in somewhat of the same realm as Cincinnati, where they need style points. Essentially, or they need other teams to lose.
I think Ohio State losing to Michigan State as well is also not very good for Michigan.
No, it's not at all.
I mean, they have to play.
I don't think Michigan can get in unless they beat Ohio State.
I was going to say
Michigan just has to win out, basically, and hope other teams lose.
Yeah,
Michigan's got to win the game, and they haven't won it so long. I think that also counts for a decent amount of style points going into the.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that's why I was saying Oklahoma's kind of sitting pretty here. They just got to win out, basically. And Baylor just lost. So, I mean, if that Oklahoma game is going to decide the Big 12, essentially.
Sadly, Cincy's not going to get in.
No, honestly, I would not be shocked today when the rankings come out if Cincinnati doesn't even move. I think they're going to stay at 6, if not even maybe drop to 7. The committee doesn't like them.
I don't think they could. I don't think.
First, if they do drop, they don't like them.
If they do drop, they might as well pack their bags and go home. Like, quit playing. Like, you got.
Yeah, I agree with that. If they go anywhere else other than 6, there's no chance of them getting in.
Like Desmond Ridder might as well opt out, go start preparing to be a first round quarterback. Like, they got nothing to play for. Nothing. So
And he's first
I don't
round.
know. I mean, he could be. Like the quarterback stuff is so crazy this
Oh
year.
yeah,
It's not
no,
gonna-
I was just wondering. But
it won't surprise me. I mean, every team's gonna have a different QB1, I think, and
Yeah.
it just takes one team to have him higher than.
yeah, for sure.
That's really it.
And also, I mean, they're not in. I don't think they're not in playoff contention. But this is one team that could end up screwing things up. The Wisconsin Badgers. They're not going to make the playoff or anything, but they're likely going to win their portion of the Big Ten because Iowa's been screwing up. So, and Wisconsin just, I believe they blew them out the other day. So Wisconsin is going to have to take on one of these teams in the Big Ten championship game. Wisconsin's been rolling as of late.
Yeah.
Wisconsin could end up deciding something here.
Yeah. I mean, you Penn State a little bit too because they have to play Michigan State, right?
Yeah, they still got to play Michigan State, and I think Michigan.
Yeah, they had to play Michigan too. I know they already played Ohio State. It's like, I mean, if Penn State, Penn State will be another. Penn State and Wisconsin. Is there any other team that could kind of? I mean, even like you said, even Utah with Oregon.
Utah. I mean,
those three teams will determine.
Baylor, Oklahoma State can still screw things up for Oklahoma, and that eliminates them. I mean, Ole Miss, Alabama would have to lose twice, which is unlikely, but they could still do something.
Yeah.
But we pretty much know like there's like a range of 10 teams that can make the playoff at this point. And that's about it because there's been losses everywhere. And like I said, Baylor losing the other day really didn't help the Big 12 whatsoever.
Nope, it did not.
I think we should do our prediction like Logan did. I think I'm going to go with Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and 4. I'm going to go with Oklahoma. I think Oregon's gonna blow it at some point, and Oklahoma's going to find their way out there and end up making a jump in Cincy fans.
Yeah, unless Oregon loses, which I think they can lose anyway.
Is this a prediction for the final one or for tonight?
Yeah, the final one. Yeah,
final one. Oh,
yeah.
I'm going Georgia,
Alabama.
Actually, not Georgia. Sorry, I'm going to go with Alabama number 1 because I still think Alabama's going to beat them the first time they play each other. Okay. So I'm going with Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State.
I think that's just what it's going to be.
That was my original prediction, not the fully, but I had Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC title game, but then they meet up in the championship game, and Georgia basically gets revenge and wins the national championship.
It wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, that's the best game we could possibly hope for in a national championship possible game, Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I just don't think Ohio State, honestly, as a fan looking in, I don't think they deserve to be in the playoffs.
I
don't think they do either, but they're going to be because the committee likes teams like Ohio State.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is the year, sadly, that Michigan ends up winning the game. So I don't know, but
that'll throw a big wrench into things.
Yeah, if Jim Harbaugh finally gets his first win against the rival, I mean that. Put Michigan in. I don't know.
I think I mean, they'd have to be in, but they'd still have to play Penn State, and then Michigan State plays Ohio State, and just what are you gonna do? I don't know.
It's gonna all work itself out over the next 3-4 weeks, and then we're gonna have a clear idea because the other teams are gonna be eliminated, and then it's gonna be we were speculating for nothing, basically.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. But it's fun to speculate.
No, it is. It's awesome. I love. This is the best time of the year for college football when the playoff rankings.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, let's go ahead and change up some topics here a little bit. We'll make our way into the NFL, and our first topic of conversation is going to be Odell Beckham Jr. Recently cleared waivers with the Browns. I mean, some people are surprised he went unclaimed. Whatever. But anyway, the discussion now is what do we think Odell's going to do? How do you think of him as a player? Where is he going to go? Whatever. Kody, let's start with you. What do you think about this whole Odell situation and landing spots, wherever you want to go with it?
So first of all, I mean, I'm glad, but as living in Ohio, I hate hearing Cleveland Browns fans talk about Odell and how they're glad he's gone. I mean, I didn't think the guy did much of anything to the organization. He didn't bash the organization. He just didn't click. I mean, he didn't click with your quarterback. That's fine. But the situation where he, went unclaimed, that did surprise me for sure. I definitely thought someone would put in a claim for a guy as talented as he is, and maybe they just didn't want to deal with, non-contenders taking a chance on him. The news came out that he doesn't want to sign with a non-contender. And then news came out actually today that his favorite team that he wants to sign with is the Green Bay Packers. And that doesn't surprise me one bit. And I just think it fits the way the Packers are going right now, especially with all the drama and news around Aaron Rodgers right now. it just seems right for him to join Green Bay. So I think he'll just end up signing with Green Bay. When I get an alert like that on my phone, I just, when that's a favorite of him, I just think and Green Bay's going to reach out and give an offer.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you, Kody. I don't understand the hate that Browns fans are having for Odell.
Yeah.
He didn't click with the quarterback. It happens. Star players go to teams.
Yep.
They don't click. It happens. It's not like he was publicly trashing them or anything. He was silent during this whole thing, and all the reports were saying
father wasn't.
he wanted. Yeah, it was his father and LeBron. Like maybe he told him to do it. Who knows? But himself, he did not say anything. And all the reports were saying he wanted to go practice, and they were the ones like, no, we're good, kind of like, we're going to figure this out. And I'm not surprised no one claimed him because it was, what, a $7-something million
$7.5
hit? Yeah, $7.5 million. Yeah. I don't think teams wanted to pay that much to get – you don't know what you're going to get with him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he hasn't been that great this season. We could make excuses for these things. I still think he has something left in the tank. I see him going to either Green Bay or Seattle personally, because I think Seattle could use a player like him, especially with getting Russell Wilson back. But ultimately, he's probably going to go to Green Bay because they need a receiver to go with Devontae. And I mean, the Packers seem to be, let's do this last dance thing. Rodgers is likely not going to be there next year. If Odell goes there, he's not going to be there next year. Devontae is likely not going to be there next year. So why not go all in? The Rams are going all in certain aspects. So why not you go all in, counter them? Then we'll maybe have a really epic NFC title game. I think he goes to the Packers personally.
For sure. I just wanted to take a little bit off of that. I wanted to bring up a team that I don't think is going to sign him, especially because they're not contenders at all. But I talked about it in a Dropout Sports video that we posted a week ago. But I really would have liked to seen him join Trevor Lawrence on the Jags, just because I feel like he fits the way Trevor Lawrence played in college and the type of player he can throw a screen pass to behind the line. And, just kind of like that exciting and talented player that, I mean, Laviska Shenault kind of has flashes of that, but Chenault's not on the talent level as Odell, in my opinion. So I think that would have been really cool.
I think a factor that not a lot of people are really considering, and I have no clue, whether this is true or not, but I just think it's a factor that I haven't really heard many people talk about. But it's I think Odell's going to sign a multi-year deal with the New England Patriots, because I don't think he wants a 1-year deal. Like, I don't think he wants to go through all this again. Maybe he does. Maybe he does. But I think a multi-year deal makes sense for him. This year, maybe next year, and that's it. And I think New England's probably the only team that will want to give him a multi-year deal, which is why I think he'll gravitate that way. Because as of right now, I believe they're the last team, the last wild card spot. So they're in contention technically this year. But then, next year, you're the guy. Second year, Mac Jones. You got Bill Belichick, so you're never out of it. You got an elite defense. Like, I just think that him wanting a multi-year contract is something that people haven't considered. And if that is the case, like, he's not going to go to Green Bay. He's not going to go to Seattle. He's not going to the Chiefs unless he's signing there for super, super, super cheap. But yeah, I just don't think people have factored in the fact he might want a long deal.
The only thing I'll say about that, I actually, like, right when the news broke about a week ago, I actually tweeted out that I think the Patriots would be perfect for him.
Yeah.
But I started to think about it, and I was like, is he really going to want to go from a young quarterback to a young quarterback? I'm not saying Mac Jones has the same exact, mental makeup or physical makeup of Baker, but I feel like in a 1-year situation, go play with Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season.
If it's a 1-year situation, New England's New England.
And then if he wants to go to New England, go to New England next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, go out with Aaron Rodgers, show that you are still Odell Beckham Jr., and then make your money. Like, no team is going to give him a massive deal right now. Not the Patriots, not anyone. So go show out with Aaron Rodgers, who arguably is the best quarterback in the league. I think he personally is. But go show out with him and Devontae, maybe win a Super Bowl in the making, and then go get your multi-year deal next year. Show what you have left in this tank, and that Cleveland was just not using you the right way.
Yeah,
so that's why I think the Packers make the most sense.
I don't know if this is probably just because I'm a Bengals fan a little bit, but it kind of reminds me of the whole Kenny Galladay offseason situation. You're choosing between a 1-year deal, prove it, or you're going to go get your money now kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And Kenny Galladay chose his money now. Maybe Odell does the same. Maybe he goes for the 1-year move. But I mean, the report came out, and he obviously talked to the Packers, but then it was the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Saints.
Saints would make sense as well.
The thing, I put the Saints at another team that would consider him for a multi-year deal, just because if you're Odell right now, you really want Trevor Siemian.
That's what's going to hold the Saints back.
Throwing you the ball, but you gotta assume they're gonna they'll have somebody else next year. Obviously, they're going to.
Probably maybe Jameis if he recovers.
I was going to say, I don't even think he'd want Jameis if he was healthy. Like, I feel like he wants to stay away from that situation. I mean, Trevor, I think you open up the confidence with being like, we have Jameis Winston. He's injured, but we have Trevor Siemian and Taysom Hill, and we run the ball and throw the running back.
It was more of like a multi-year idea because that's kind of something that I talked about. I could see him going there because then next year you'd have Kamara, Michael Thomas, Odell, and
that would be a very scary offense.
Exactly, and whoever at quarterback. Like, obviously, whoever it is, you'll probably would want.
He played his college ball at LSU, so I mean,
exactly.
He's familiar with,
I could see him signing a 2-year deal with the Saints or the Patriots.
Maybe Rodgers goes to the Saints next year.
Maybe it's going to be interesting to see what happens over these next day or so because I feel like he's going to want to sign quicker rather than.
No, yeah, he definitely wants to sign.
Maybe by tomorrow.
He'll be signed by this time tomorrow, if I had to guess.
Yeah, same.
If I really had to guess. But yeah, I don't think there's any like wild card team. I don't think. I think if I had to,
a wild card team,
I was gonna potentially say the 49ers.
He doesn't want to play.
I don't want to. He doesn't want to play with Jimmy G. I'm trying to think of another team that's like a 1-year.
What about like the Bills? For the rest of this season, he signs a short contract with them.
Another team, the Bills reminded me. It wouldn't I don't think it'll happen, but like the Chargers as well. I think he's a good fit with Herbert necessarily. Him and Mike Williams on the outside, Keenan Allen running the slot. They throw the ball 40 times a game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a lethal offense
they're in that
too.
division. I don't know.
Depends where he wants to go. If he
can go wherever he wants to go.
He values money, values geography. Like, it just really depends on what Odell wants. It's the first time he's a free agent.
I don't know if the Bucs have the money for it, but right now with AB being like a little injured, and they don't know really how bad it is.
Don't speak that into existence, Kody.
A little worse than I think. I think Tom Brady's like, I want him, and he just brings him in. So
Well, let's go off of Odell until we know some more about him. I'm sure next week we'll probably be talking about where he went, and obviously follow along on Twitter and Instagram. We'll have the news out as soon as we get it. We'll have a video reaction, article reactions, all that kind of stuff. Everything you need to know about the Odell situation. Okay.
Let's each choose a team real quick.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go with the Saints.
Oh, okay, Matt.
You know what? You convinced me, Logan. I'm going with the Patriots.
I mean, I'm sticking with the Patriots as well. I think personally that if he said he wants to go to the Packers, there's no reason he's not going to end up on the Packers. So I think that's what it'll end up. But I think logically, I like the idea for New England 2-year deal, but we'll see. I'll say the Patriots, but it's hard to deny a report that says Odell wants
to go to Green Bay.
Yeah. But okay, moving on to our second NFL topic of the day. It's just, the week of the upset, man. Like, there's a bunch of crazy games. So we talked about how crazy college football was. But, man, like, NFL was wild this week. I mean, the Jags beat the Bills. The Manning curse is clearly real, by the way. The Giants over the Raiders. Broncos over Dallas. The Cardinals without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, and J.J. Watt beat the 49ers. The Titans over the Rams. The Falcons over the Saints. Like, it was a very, 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 very hectic week. And like Malik keeps tweeting out, man, any given Sunday, any given Sunday, it's, obviously you'd like to think it when this team's a lock or whatever, but man, these last couple of weeks have shown us that it's a pretty crazy year in the NFL. And obviously there's gaps, but like, if you catch your team on a good day, there's, anybody can beat anybody.
Like just to build off of that, just a team that I kind of wanted to bring up right off the bat, just because I think they're the most random team when you play them. They could either be the easiest win on your schedule or like what the heck, they just destroyed this team, and they proved it this week, and that's the Denver Broncos.
I knew that was coming.
They are so confusing to me. Like I feel like 2 weeks ago I was like, yeah, the Broncos just ain't it this year. Like Teddy Two Gloves, he's not getting it done, man. And then I just watched this game, and they just look so efficient. They're running the ball with Melvin.
Dominated them, man.
Just dominated the Cowboys. So I just think that they're like such a random team. I'm trying to look at their schedule and see like what teams they still have to play.
They play in the AFC West, which is a pretty loaded division.
They play the Chargers twice still.
Yeah, we'll get into the AFC playoff picture here in a little bit, actually. But yeah, it was a pretty concerning week for the Cowboys, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, the Broncos aren't the best team. Like, I know Dak was, Dak should have been healthy, and if he wasn't, they played him. That's their own fault. Yeah. But I think it came down to the Cowboys' offensive line this week. I forget who it was. Their left tackle, Steele. He allowed like 11 pressures or something, and which is obviously a lot for one game. But still, a 30 to 16 loss at home against the Broncos. You're getting shut out for 3.5 quarters. Like it's not a very good look, and a lot of people love this Cowboys team. Like we've talked about it before. A lot of us think they're legit, but like it's a pretty like eye-catching maybe not.
I think the Cowboys will be okay. I think a lot of times we get caught up in like a week-to-week situation, and I think the Broncos just came out and wanted it more. A lot of people were talking about how the Broncos season was over. They traded their franchise icon in Von Miller, and they were tanking and doing all this. And you know what? Credit to Denver. They went on the road into Dallas, and they just put it on the Cowboys, who a lot of people, I believe I said it last week, I thought they were the best team in the NFC. And I was wrong. So I'm sorry, Cowboy fans, about that. But credit to Denver, dude. Like, honestly, I was very impressed with what Denver was doing, both defensively and offensively, because Teddy Bridgewater looked pretty decent the other day. Yeah. And that's not something we've been able to say against decent competition, because he struggled against better teams. But so, that was a surprise. But honestly, like, one team that I know we've talked about on here before, I know Kody laughed at me when we talked about this a few weeks ago. The Atlanta Falcons. There we go. Hey, they're the 7th seed right now. They would be in the playoffs if the playoffs started right now. Yeah. They are 4-4, 3rd in the NFC. Like, honestly, go Atlanta, man. Like, they lose Calvin Ridley and they go into New Orleans and they beat the Saints. Like, talk about an upset. This Falcons team is either winning these close games or they're getting beaten by teams that they should beat. And I'm here for this Falcons team, and I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them to get into the playoffs, and I want to see Matt Ryan go back into the playoffs one more time.
Matt, I'm sorry. I am sorry for laughing at you. It really, really, really.
Yeah, he really clowned you, man.
It's really easy to root for them. I take everything back, because Patterson, being the ultimate utility guy, watching him rush 15 times and be their top receiver with Calvin Ridley out. It's just it's such a wacky situation. It's they must have a really weird running back room. Yeah, it's Mike Davis, such a random other guy to have in your running back room. And then they got the Calvin Ridley stuff. Matt Ryan's an old veteran who lives and will have the Super Bowl that he blew on his name for his whole career. And it's just I think it makes sense for them to just sneak into the playoffs and be really, they're still there.
Yeah, you kind of talked about it, but Cordell Patterson's a gadget guy. You can move Kyle Pitts around everywhere. Mike Davis, you can move him around a lot of places as well. It's just I think they complicate things for opposing teams' defenses, and I think when you can make teams think a lot. Yeah, usually you don't want to think a lot in football. You kind of just want to make plays. Credit to Arthur Smith, I think, more than anybody.
A lot of people were writing him off when they were
Yeah, they were not off to a good start, but he's figured it out. Credit to him. But
they got the Cowboys this weekend.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun. That'll be Atlanta's test, man. If they can keep that game close, I'll be all in on Atlanta.
If Atlanta wins this game against the Cowboys, all we're talking about next week, Kody,
is Atlanta.
Yeah, you better be wearing a Falcons jersey if they.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think another game that really surprised me, for being honest, is the Titans in that Rams game, man. Like, the Rams are just, I mean, they've lost what,
2 games.
2 games now?
Both
Both
at
have
home.
been bad losses. Like, not bad, like they've been killed pretty much both games. I know they ended up making them a little closer in the end or whatever, but like the Titans just won in all aspects of the game.
They're
Simple as
so
that.
they're so well coached. Like Mike Vrabel, I think is such a not even underrated at this point, but he just day in and day out. I feel like he's the type of coach that really takes it play by play by play, and everything matters. And he runs such a tight ship there. It seems like that those Titans players respect the heck out of him and just put their lives on the line every single week. I mean, you see teams have like lackadaisical weeks, like the Bengals, for example, and I feel like Mike Vrabel does not allow that to happen. And he knew that he had to come in here and make a statement. I mean, AP was running the ball. It felt like it was 2010 or whatever, but it was weird.
Yeah, I
7
mean,
7 straight wins for Titans, man.
Bro, big wins too. Chiefs,
Yeah,
Bills, Rams.
Like everyone was down on this Titans team after they got obliterated week 1 against the Cardinals, and
then lost to the Jets a couple weeks later.
Yeah. Then they lost to the Jets, and granted, without their top 2 receivers, but still, there was no excuse for a team to do that. But I mean, credit to the Titans. They out physical. They basically they were the more physical team than the Rams, and this is what I'm noticing with this Rams team is when teams get physical with them, they can't match it. They're more of that finesse football team.
Yep.
They're prettier. But
on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but it's like, look, when the 2 losses, the Titans out physical them, the Cardinals out physical them, and we saw what happened. And yes, Matthew Stafford's really good, and I'm still very high in this Rams team. I still think they're going to win the Super Bowl, but Matthew Stafford is not one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and he's probably top 10, I'd say. But he's going to make mistakes once in a while here. It's just it's unfortunate it came against 2 of the better teams they played against. But
Matt,
I think the Rams will be okay.
Matt, can I get the just right off the top of your head, the 2 quarterbacks on the below and above Matthew Stafford?
Below and above Matthew Stafford?
Just curious.
So what? 3 and 4, and then 6 and 7.
I don't even know. I mean, I put Mahomes over him, even though he struggled this season.
Okay.
But I put Mahomes over him, and I'd probably put
right behind him.
That's difficult because probably maybe Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, okay.
And then behind him, I would probably take. I don't even know that's where it gets kind of difficult after the top 5, 6. Maybe Dak. Maybe Dak right after him. I think I might take Stafford over Dak right now.
I disagree.
Maybe another year, I might take Dak over Stafford.
Okay.
I don't even know.
It's tough because I mean
it is tough.
A quarterback to evaluate because I mean it was just tough to even put him. He was like always this guy who you knew had the talent to be in the top 10, and this year he does have a lot of talent around him, and he's been thriving. But I think he's in that 6 to 7 area for sure.
Yeah, that's where I'd put him as well.
Yeah. Credit to the Titans defensive coordinator. I don't even know who it is off the top of my head. So sorry to that guy. But like everybody kind of thought that their defense was going to be their weakness, and I was certainly one of them. But like they had that defensive unit playing really well, and like most people probably can't even name 3 or 5 defenders on that defensive side of the football. And like credit to them, man. Like credit to that defensive unit more than anything. Like that's been the most impressive thing about their football team, in my opinion, this year.
Yeah, I mean they're the number 1 seed in the AFC right now. They're leading their division. I mean, I don't see a scenario where they don't make the playoffs. Honestly, if they keep playing like this.
Yeah. But yeah.
Then again, the Bengals were were number 1 2 weeks ago, and now they're not. So
The NFL,
talking
about the playoffs a little bit now. Let's talk about the AFC playoff picture a little bit, and I'm gonna read you the standings off as it stands right now, and it's a pretty interesting list. I mean, everybody just take a listen. We got the Titans, Ravens, in order: Titans, Ravens, Chargers, Bills, Raiders, Steelers, Patriots, Chiefs, Browns, Bengals, Broncos, and Colts. There are 9 teams in the AFC that have 5 wins. So it's a very, very, very close race. And the Colts are right there They've had a lot of tough games to start the year. Their schedule gets really easy. And they're with 4 wins. So the AFC is wide open. So just speaking about it, if you had to give me a team right now, who's your favorite to come out of the AFC?
Like to make the Super Bowl?
Yeah. If you had to give me a team right now.
I don't even know. Maybe the Titans at this point.
I'm
probably the Titans, honestly, because
if the Titans get Derrick
consistent
Henry
team.
back, because it was what 6 to 10 weeks.
Yeah, and they said if they make a playoff run, he might be able to come back.
I would go with the Titans as well, I think.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go with the Titans at this point, but because I don't trust the Bills. The Bills, while they have talent, they have struggled.
I want to talk about the
better
Bills
teams.
for a second. So I was taking a peek at the Bills, and we didn't even bring it up, but the Bills lost to the Jags, right? Anytime you lose to the Jags, you're like, what just happened? Like, how did we just score 6 points and lose to the Jags?
They didn't score a touchdown against the Jags.
Like, so I went back and looked at this Bills team a little bit, and the Bills have beat the Miami Dolphins twice, Washington football team, the Houston Texans, and the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are their best win.
The Chiefs are their best win. The Chiefs aren't very good this year. So, they've lost to the Steelers and the Titans and now the Jags. The Bills don't have – if we're talking resumes, man, this Bills team is pretty scary. Like, they don't have nothing. They beat good teams – or they lose to good teams, and they beat bad ones. I don't know how to feel about the Bills. I really don't.
I think they have talent, but I think they were a little overhyped coming into the year.
Yeah, I mean, I know they've beat up on some of these teams, but you lose to Pittsburgh week 1. The Dolphins suck. Washington sucks. Texans suck. You take care of business now. The Chiefs win, at the time, looks impressive, but that's ever since then the Chiefs were have been terrible.
Yeah.
So while that is, it's a decent win still. You beat the Chiefs, whatever, decent win. Lose to the Titans. You struggle against the Dolphins the second time you play them, and then you don't score touchdowns and lose to the Jags. It's kind of concerning, if I'm being honest.
A bad few weeks for Buffalo.
Yeah, and I think they turn it around, but I just think we couldn't talk about the Bills without talking about how weird they've been this year. They've seemed dominant because they have, but they've played some really bad teams.
I mean, if we're talking resumes for these AFC teams, I mean, I feel like the Bengals have one of the better ones. I know they're obviously 5-4, but they've beaten the Steelers, they've beaten the Ravens.
Yeah, Vikings are solid.
Yeah, the Vikings. I mean, their Vikings are all right. The Ravens struggled with the Vikings as well, so that game doesn't look as bad when you look at it with the Bengals. But yeah, there's 11 of the 16 teams in the AFC are above 500, and that tells you all you need to know about how crazy the AFC is.
Yeah, and 9 of those, however many teams you just said, have 5 wins. So everybody is right there.
And a lot of these teams are going to be playing each other over the next weeks, and this is going to be a very, very awesome, crazy end to the season, and I'm here for it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be crazy ups and downs for all these teams, because each week we see, this team's the favorite, but wait, they just lost. But wait, they just won. It's
but they beat these people.
Yeah, so it's going to come down probably to the last week or two of the season to determine who makes the playoffs in the AFC, other than maybe the Titans, because they have a 3-game lead on the Colts and they beat them both times. That's going to be the only team that really is solidified right now.
Here's the team that I am most confident in, just because I feel like they're years ahead of the other teams in their division, and not a lot, but I mean, it is one of the best divisions in football. I think the Baltimore Ravens have everything that they need in order to be that team to make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they had a big win last year in the playoffs. I mean, they took that step, didn't go further, but they've fought a lot of adversity this year with, key injuries to their team. And it seems like they're actually Lamar has such a good handle on this team right now. Just like I talked about Mike Graber with the Titans, I feel like Lamar is the most comfortable he's been with the Ravens, and he's starting to really sling the ball. And when it comes down to the last drive to win the game, I mean, he's up there in the quarterback that I'd want, when it comes to the younger ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to the AFC North, I think they actually, as close as it is, I'm pretty confident in saying they have it on lockdown.
Could we
Yeah.
see a potential Titans-Ravens playoff game again? Because they played what
Fun.
in the semifinal 2 years ago. They played
3
with
years
the
in a
wild
row,
card.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
this would be maybe they meet up in the AFC title game this
That'd be
year.
a fun one.
They don't like each other. They've gotten into fights before, so that would be
Yeah.
a really fun game to watch.
I think a team that people kind of have written off a little bit before this last week. I think I just can't I have to just feel like I have to bring them up. But I still believe in this Cleveland Browns team.
Yeah.
They're just so they're so well rounded. They don't really have any holes. Maybe receiver now, whatever. But they're just watching them play football. They're just gonna wait for you to make mistakes. That's really it. They're not gonna really wow you offensively. They're gonna run the ball. They don't have Kareem Hunt right now. They obviously lost OBJ, but that never really clicked anyway. So you still have Jarvis Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones is solid. You have all three of these tight ends. You have weapons. You don't have to ask Baker to do much, but he's shown a couple times this year that he can do it if he needs to do it. We obviously don't want him to do it. And then the defense is solid on all aspects of the game. They're just so well rounded and just they're just a team that I think can just continue to grind out wins. They have their offensive schemes easy, their defense is easy. I just think they make their job super easy on themselves. They don't have to do much to win football games. They just absolutely destroyed the Bengals and they didn't even do anything special. They ran the football, they had a big play, they had a 70-yard run, a 60-yard touchdown. Denzel Ward made a great play on the first drive of the game, and they caught a tipped interception. They got a fumble. They just did what they were supposed to do, and it worked out. Not obviously, it's not going to work out into those blowouts every week. Not every time you tackle somebody, it's going to be a fumble. Not every tip pass is going to be an interception. They simplify the game so much. Is kind of what I think, and that's why it's kind of hard to write them off, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's why I think this weekend's matchup against the Patriots is going to be super interesting
Without
because we're seeing these two teams who have been. I mean, the Browns they've been up and down a little bit, but I mean they're coming off that huge win against the Bengals, like you mentioned. Patriots are rounding into form, and like you said, these two teams really make it easy for themselves. They don't really beat themselves per se. They simplify the game for their players. So I think the game this weekend is really going to tell us a lot about both of these teams.
It's the game of the week, in my opinion, especially in the AFC. I mean, it's just going to be such a, like you said,
it's in New England, I believe, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. It's a telling game, but I mean, the Browns. It seems like they're not going to have Nick Chubb, who's just placed on. He has COVID, and it's going to be Dearness Johnson week again, just like in Denver. But I'm just curious as to what the Browns are going to be able to do. I mean, how long's Kareem Hunt out?
I mean, he's eligible to return this week, but I don't.
I was reading he's probably not going to be back for a few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, their 1-2 punch is so fantastic and helps out their offense so much. I mean, we really didn't get to see too much of their offense. I mean, it was big chunk plays against the Bengals last week when it was just Nick Chubb. But I agree, though. Cleveland is definitely still a team that they're going to fly under the radar and grind out any of those any and every game. They're not going to get blown out.
Yeah, I mean, like you were talking about, I don't care who their running back is. I'm pretty confident we could run behind that offensive line effectively. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, honestly.
It's just, we wouldn't be great, but we could definitely
probably get
muster out
20,
3
yards
carry or something.
And behind Wyatt Teller and get at least
exactly, bro. We'd be all right. But another team I kind of want to. We'll talk about the whole division as a whole, and we're gonna go a couple different directions for these last few minutes before we close this out here. But I want to talk about the AFC West a little bit. You talk about how the New England Browns game is your game of the week. My game of the week is the Chiefs and Raiders. I don't know who's going to win this division, and my honest prediction is whoever wins this game will win the division. I do not believe in this Chargers team whatsoever. They got a lot of hype early.
Really?
They beat the Browns like we talked about, but they played the Baltimore Ravens, got dismantled by the blitz. They had a bye week to prepare for it. New England came out, dismantled Justin Herbert by the blitz. They just played freaking Philadelphia Eagles and won by 3 points, 2
Yeah.
points, whatever it was. Like, they can figure it out, yeah, but it's just I don't know. They don't look very good. There's a clear path to beat Justin Herbert. You can run the football all over them. I mean, Jordan Howard was running all over them. Jordan Howard, like, come on. So it's just I'm not sold on them. I'm just not. But what do you guys think about the AFC West as a whole? Chargers takes wherever direction you guys want to go. From what I said.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's every team. It's like the AFC North. Every single team has, I believe, at least 5 wins, right? Like, yeah. I mean, hey, let's not disrespect the Broncos here. They're what 5-4 as well, right?
Yeah.
So every team here has 5 wins. I still think I will agree with you. I think who wins this game is going to definitely have the edge here because if the Chiefs win, I think the Chiefs may go on a little run. They're starting to not offensively. Their defense looked a lot better. Granted, it was against Jordan Love.
They just blitzed the crap out of him.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, and we'll see. Fine. But I think the Raiders are going to personally. I think the Raiders are going to beat the Chiefs this weekend. It's in Vegas. I'm kind of out on the Chiefs offense, man. I have Mahomes in fantasy, and he has just been so frustrating, so frustrating. The 1 year I finally get him, and this is what he's doing.
Yeah.
Really.
Them away.
I think the Raiders have the recipe for success because they can run the ball with Jacobs. They can throw the ball. I know obviously they've had some unfortunate things come up with their team this season, and I know they just lost to the Giants, but they have a good defense as well. I mean, Max Crosby's playing incredible here, and Derek Carr is playing decently. I think this Raiders team could do something. And I
added Deshaun Jackson.
They added Jackson to replace Ruggs. And Brian Edwards is playing all right. I think this Raiders team has that recipe to possibly win this division. I think it's unfortunate for them. They already lost to the Chargers earlier in the year, but they do get them in the last game of the season, I believe. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the Raiders in this division right now, just because I think if they play the Chargers again, they'll have that blueprint to go up against Herbert and they'll just blitz him like crazy.
Yeah, I believe a couple of weeks ago we kind of talked about a similar situation. I don't quite remember what you said, Matt, but I know I said the Raiders are going to win the division, and Kody said the Chiefs were going to win the division. You still believe that?
I do believe that still. Actually, I was just about to build off of that. I think it's kind of chaotic and crazy to even count out Patrick Mahomes this early into the season, especially when the division is that tight. I personally just think that the experience and what the Chiefs have done in the past years and how well they're coached, and like you said, the defense looked better. It was against Jordan Love, but it was the Packers still. I mean, it's still a tough team. They've got talented players. But here's how I look at it. I think the Raiders are the worst team in this division. And listen, I think that by the end of the year, we will be looking at this division and the Raiders will be fourth. I think the Broncos now have something to prove. The Broncos came out and proved it against the Cowboys, and they're just a tough team to play every week, like I said. And I honestly don't get that with the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders are a team where I'm like, you know what? Any of these bad teams can beat them. Just like you said, we saw the Giants beat them. I'm not as Logan's not confident in the Chargers. I'm not confident in the Raiders.
I think it's a fair take. The Raiders have been through
so much. Through a lot.
If they crumble, I don't think anybody's going to be like, wow, where'd that come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm just going to write them off.
Isn't it interesting, though, that these two, both the AFC West and the AFC North, every team has 5 wins or more.
Crazy.
And they're all playing each other the rest of the season.
Great.
These divisions are playing each other completely.
Yeah.
And
I'm looking at the Chiefs' schedule right now. They got
to decide everything.
Yeah, the Chiefs got the Raiders this week, and then the Cowboys, which will be an awesome game.
Yeah.
Broncos, Raiders again, Chargers, Steelers, Bengals, Denver to close out the year.
Over under picks Mahomes has right to just the Diggs, not even the Cowboys.
I would say at least 2.
Yeah, I mean that's.
These divisions,
I'm glad you brought that
up. Going to beat up on each other over the next little bit, and these are going to be the potential wild card teams. The Patriots are sitting good over here. They just got to keep winning every other game. Basically,
I'm glad you brought that up. I do think the Patriots. I think the Patriots are going to end up sneaking in.
I think they will too.
I don't know. It's kind of like an Oregon situation a little bit. I mean, they probably don't deserve to be in. They're probably not the most talented team, but they just got to keep being average, and everybody else will kind of beat up on each other.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to have one good win eventually. They'll have to probably beat somebody good. I mean, they beat the Chargers, so
They had
that was it.
they're a half game out of first place for the AFC East.
Yeah, I mean, like we just talked about how we're not really too stoked on the Bills.
Like the Patriots, and they haven't played each other yet.
Exactly.
So
if they split with the Bills, they're 100% making the playoffs.
the Patriots might mess around and win that division with the rookie quarterback.
They might.
I can't confidently say, and if you were to tell me this before the year, to say like the Bills have a 80% chance to beat the Patriots. I honestly can see the Patriots at least splitting, but also
they're good. I think they might split. It's tough to win in Foxborough.
So we've been given a little predictions today. Let's end the show with your 2 AFC wildcard teams. Matt, we'll start with you.
You mean 3 wildcard teams?
Yeah, sorry, 3.
Man, put me on the spot here. I think when the season is over, I think the wildcard teams are going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Bengals get in as the 7th seed.
I like that.
Interesting.
I like that. What about you, Kody?
I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Browns. And I'm going to go with – who am I missing here? I'm going to go with the Steelers. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
I'm going to go with the Chargers and the Browns, and then the last one is tough.
It is tough.
I'm going to go Chargers, Browns, Raiders.
It's tough to pick the Bengals. I'm surprised you picked the Bengals, Mac, just because, like, even as a fan, you know, you try to be optimistic and stuff, but just everything I've seen the past couple of weeks, especially with, you know, Burrow and his interception problem as of right now, it's just concerning. And obviously they haven't, like, gotten completely – like, their coaching situation is much worse than we think, than all the other teams that would be fighting for it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into that in a little bit, but
can I just do a quick why I put the Bengals in?
Yeah, their next 2 games will be huge, but yeah, you're good, Matt.
I think the reason I'm putting the Bengals in still is because I still believe in this team because one reason there has not been a consistent real issue. Yes, the play calling's been up and down, but like you see when teams lose games, it's a consistent thing. Yeah.
Like the Chargers, they can't stop the run.
Exactly. The Jets game, they just got blindsided by a team. No, they overlooked. And then the game yesterday, I just think there was a couple mistakes here and there. Burrow talked about this. Like the game
wasn't that much of a blowout.
It was.
Yeah. Yes, the credit to the Browns. They went into Cincinnati and did this. But 1 or 2 plays here or there, we might be talking about a different game.
Yeah,
absolutely. You know, I mean, just the first pick 6, just
exactly.
That doesn't happen.
Or the Jamar Chase fumble, or the Jamar Chase drop touchdown. Maybe that gets momentum going. Who knows? But I'm still believing in this Bengals team because of Joe Burrow. I know he's thrown interceptions. I think he'll clean it up because he acknowledged it. Like he went on the Colin Cowherd show yesterday and said, "I need to be better. I need to limit these turnovers." And I'm trusting this man basically to learn and to be better. He's still very young. We also need to remember that.
I think I'll say this. My last wild card spot will go to whoever wins the Bengals Raiders game next week.
Yeah, that is that. If the Bengals lose that game, then they're probably out. But I think they can beat the Raiders. I think they can beat the Raiders.
I think whoever wins that game will get the last wild card.
I'll agree with that statement.
I think that's kind of the direction we'll go. But yeah, so that's going to kind of wrap up today's show. Like I said, I hope you enjoyed our very jam-packed show. You know, the college football rankings are starting now. We'll break those down again this time next week. You know, we got another jam-packed week in the NFL. Lots going on, lots to digest. You know, we'll be here next week, you know, to give you guys another good show. Before we leave, another reminder, follow along, subscribe here on the YouTube, follow along on the Instagram, and the Twitter as well. And as always, subscribe to TWSN Patreon, you know, and that's going to wrap things up for us this week, guys. We'll see you next week.
Appreciate it.
Get up, let me begin. This is TWSN. You ain't